Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to an album review. Now I know it's been a while since I've done like an official album review on this channel, but here I'm going to be reviewing Atoma by Tranquility. Yes, now this record here, what do I think of it overall? I like it. I think it's a pretty good record. So I do want to tell you guys my history with the band. I've been a fan of these guys for, to be honest with you, only a year. I've got into them during the, I guess, middle portion of 2017, and believe it or not, but the first song I've ever heard from this album and the first Tranquility song I've ever heard was the title track. And yeah, I don't know what's more embarrassing, the fact that I got into them last year or the fact that the first song I ever heard from them was on their latest album. But regardless, I'm someone who did get into the band, and I'm pretty glad I did, because I think these guys do have quite a bit to offer. So yeah, with that being said, this is Tranquility's latest album, Atoma. This is the first album of theirs that I got, ever. So the first track is Encircled. Not the best opening track that the band has done, but definitely not bad. And the next track is the title track, Atoma, which, like I said, is the first Tranquility song I ever heard. And the funny thing is I never liked it that much. Well, I never liked it. I thought it was a little mediocre. It was just something I wasn't too crazy about. But I ended up growing to really love it. You know, my second listen hearing it, after my first listen, of course. And this is a very catchy song, probably the catchiest song on the album. It's very melodic, but it also has heavy moments, and it's just all around just a very good song. If you're someone who, I guess, is trying to get into Tranquility and you're more of a mainstream listener, or someone who listens to only catchy music or something like that, this is the song on the album that I would recommend checking out. Because it has the melody, the heaviness, the instrumentation is very well done, and the vocals are also very well done. And you know what? Fun fact about Tranquility, the original vocalist of In Flames is now currently the vocalist of Tranquility, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And the only difference is Tranquility still makes really good sounding melodic death metal, and while In Flames kind of went a alternative metal kind of electronic direction or something like that. Next up we got Forward Momentum. This is another song that I would recommend for, I guess, easy listeners, because I think this song does have a good mix of everything, if you ask me. And skipping some tracks ahead, I do want to mention the song Clearing Skies, because this is probably my favorite track on the album. Mainly because of how atmospheric it sounds, and how, I guess, it gives off this kind of gray-like atmosphere, which I think is really cool. I like the pace to it, I like the flow to it, everything about it I think is just fantastic. And of course, we jump to the end of the album, the closing track, which is Caves and Embers. Now, I would say that this is the closing track to the album, but believe it or not, and this is actually something that I have never noticed when I first bought my copy of this album, but it comes with 2 discs. I had no idea what was on the second disc for the longest time, and then I popped it into my laptop, and I discovered, whoa, there's 2 extra songs. And yes, the second disc does come with 2 extra tracks. And I would say that Time Out of Place is probably the best out of the 2, which you can kind of consider the closing track to the whole album. This song is brilliant. And both of the tracks that are on the second disc are both like ballad-like songs. So again, if you're not into, I guess, real heavier music or something, then I would recommend checking out the last 2 tracks on the album that are on the second disc. So overall, guys, I do think this is a really good album. Is it Tranquility's best? No. I would say that their best are still Haven and Fiction. I would recommend this to people who are looking to get into melodic death metal, because this album does have a good mix of melody and heaviness and all that good stuff. And if you're someone who's been a metalhead for quite a long time, I think you're someone who would enjoy either the entire album or mainly the second half, because the second half is a lot more, I guess, aggressive, more heavy than the first half. However, if you're someone who, I guess, is more of a mainstream listener or someone who listens to radio-friendly music most of the time, I would recommend the first half of this album, such as tracks like the title track and Forward Momentum that are more on the melodic side, they have more clean singing than most of the tracks on the record. And when I say that these songs are more on the radio-friendly side, don't go into these songs expecting something that sounds like Linkin Park. They're pretty radio-friendly and mainstream for this style of music. So I'll just leave it at that. So what do you guys think of Atoma by Dark Tranquility? I think it's a good album. I'm going to have to give it an 8 out of 10. The only thing that's keeping it from being a 10 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10 is, while I do think this album is really good, it's really just it's not nothing that I would consider out of this world outstanding, if you know what I mean. Like, it's nothing that, like, it's not like Winter's Gate Part 2 or something like that, you could say. But I think this is really good for what it is, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Thank you for watching. Take care.